So this very large print you see here on the far wall, this is a silk mezzotint. It's a relatively unknown technique. It actually, the result is like a traditional mezzotint, but rather than working on a metal plate, you work with a nylon silkscreen mesh, and that's what holds the ink down. But it's the same principle that your image is built by actually adding white values. So you're working in reverse. And the series name is called Abyssalia, and that references what is the abyssal zones of the ocean, where there is no light and there is massive amounts of pressure. And that is what determines what some of the life forms that we see down there, how they appear and how they are shaped, and the characteristics they have. For instance, they have translucent bodies, or they have bioluminescent bodies, or they have very strange shapes due to all these physical conditions of so much pressure of water and no light whatsoever. So I'm interested in finding these sort of consonance between what is the materiality of printmaking and the meaning and the morphology of this type of life form. And so this is all painted. It's literally, you're printing a painting that is done with acrylic. And the way I create these patterns in this sort of articulation is by pressing objects onto the viscous paint. It's acrylic paint. And that's what creates this sort of like dendrites and these sort of like very biomorphic shapes. There's of course precedent for these types of forms and shapes. The first one that I'm sure everyone is familiar with is the decalcomania from the surrealist Oscar Dominguez. But it's something that actually goes back even further. We have the work of the French poet George Sand, that in the 19th century, she actually made a series of watercolors that you can see if you visit her home in Paris. These beautiful watercolors where she actually creates this articulation and then goes back and paints in a landscape. Then there's the work of Max Ernst. He did this in his paintings, his very large paintings, Europe After the Rain. So there is this interesting sort of lineage of artists that have worked with this process. And also I'm interested in the fact that the images and the shapes are made by pressing onto the plate. So you have this repeated pattern of printing, pressing, and then printing the final image. The other print that I have is this one here. It's a copper plate photogravure. It's a still life. My titles are very significant in this case. This is called Seeing Viscera, but I use the French term, which is called viscère voyant. And the reason I do that, it's because I pay homage to a French philosopher. His name is Roger Caillois. He was a surrealist, sort of a renegade surrealist, broke away from Breton's group, along with Georges Bataille. But he would, I think he would recognize some interesting characteristics about this piece. And it has to do with haruspicy. Haruspicy is the ancient practice, the art of divination, by actually pulling out animals' entrails and reading the entrails. Typically they would do it with livers, but they do it also with other type of intestines. And this is actually a very large piece of cow gut, tripe. And what I've done is I've sort of inverted that gaze. So it's now the tripe that is staring out at the viewer and determining by looking straight at them what is going to be the fate of that person. So this is sort of reversal of what is the idea of the gaze, of what is prediction, and now it's turned on to us by this sort of omniscient orb. And this is copper plate photogravure. So these are just a few of the series of my prints that I've been working on over the past few years. And yeah, well, thank you for your attention.